Okay, let's get started. Today we're going to dive right into doing some basic shortcuts for beginners in Adobe Premiere Pro. If you're ready, let's get right to it. I have a project that I've been working on with Magic Johnson, and I'm going to try to use that project just to basically demonstrate how I use the shortcuts as I'm cutting up the clips that I use. If you want to, you can go to your Windows workspace into an area called Workspaces. Make sure that you can see that. It says Workspaces. And then you can go on over. You have a choice of the various. You can go into Essentials. If you're interested in doing captions and graphics, you can go into that. I have my favorite as well that I use. Just choose your particular workspace. Whatever you're comfortable with is fine. Right now, we can get started. What I have is graphics and titles up. I have my essential graphics here on this side. Here is your main program window. Let me open this up. This is the project window over here. And to move things around, Adobe, I love the way they have their panels structured so that you can move things around. You can undock them if you want and move them. If you have an extra monitor, it's so nice that you can move things around. It may seem cluttered at first, but you can always grab these little grab bars and move them horizontally or vertically as I'm grabbing here, so you can resize them. If you would like, another thing you can do, here's the timeline. You can hit the tilde key, which is in the, I would call it the left upper quadrant because I'm looking from my left hand, and at the top, the squiggly little key, if you hit that, all of a sudden you see how huge everything is, and you can move your playhead around. You can also play the clip from here. The only thing you won't see is the main monitor, but it's very helpful. And you can do that with any of the panels. You can do this with the main monitor. You can enlarge that as well. And then you just hit it again. You hit it to make it large, and you hit it again to bring you right back so you don't have to worry about getting lost. This is the timeline. I have already pulled over my clip. Let me bring this over here so that you can see me there. This is a vertical video. And one of the things I just wanted to go over quickly is as you're moving around the timeline, it's just basically important to learn some of the basic keys. So they have the JKL key that is right there in the keyboard. If you want to go to your left, you hit your J key and you see how the playhead is moving. If you want to go really fast, you hit it again. You can hit it as many times as you want, and it just basically speeds up. To go back the other way, you hit the L key, which goes to the right, and I'm hitting it several times. I'm just tapping it, and it's speeding up and it's moving quickly across. If I want to stop it, I just hit the K key, which is between the J, K, and L. To go to the left is J. You can hold it as well, and it just speeds right up. You go back to the right, you hit that, and you can hold it down. It keeps moving. You can hit it, tap it several times. Don't be afraid to tap it. And you see how it just keeps moving across. Okay, and you hit your K. You can also play your clip by hitting the space bar. If you want to expand your timeline or contract it, because maybe you want to see if you have a clip at the other opposite end, sometimes you add clips on the end just to kind of like hold it over there until you need it, and you might forget that it's there. You want to go up to your plus and your minus keys at the top. You can hit the minus key several times, and it just makes it brings everything in, contracts it. Then if you want to expand it, you just hit the plus key, and you see how now you can see the waves. You can grab these bars to open it up to take a look at the waves. These are bars down here as well that you can grab, and you can move them to the right and to the left, and you see how they're changing the size. It gets, as I'm moving right now, I'm holding down my trackpad right here, and then I'm grabbing the little bar here, as you can see right there, and I'm moving it that way to the right. of me to my right, along my right hand, and you see how everything gets smaller. If I'm still holding the trackpad down. If you have a mouse, you can do the same thing, hold the mouse down. I'm actually just using, because I'm on a Mac, Apple MacBook Pro laptop. I'm holding down the trackpad, and then I'm grabbing hold of this little circle that's at the bottom, at the base, and I'm dragging it to the left. And as I move to the left, everything expands. And when I move to the right, it contracts. It gives you that same effect as if you hit the minus key, contracts everything, and the plus key brings it out. You have a choice of doing that or that. Another thing you can do, if you want to open and close vertically the timeline, hold on to the shift key on your computer keyboard, hold the shift. I'm going to use my right hand to scroll up and down along the trackpad. And if you have a mouse, you can do the same with the mouse. You notice how everything, I'm at the top where you have the video section is, the V1s. I'm doing the same thing for the A, which is the audio. And as I bring it down, it comes down, so up and down. You can move this up and down depending on how much of it you want to see. Sometimes you want to see a lot of this audio. See how big those waves get? Because I'm pulling down, I'm still holding the shift key, and I'm moving it up to make it skinny to see if there's anything at the bottom. Sometimes you can lose clips at the bottom, you don't know they're there. So you can use this technique to make sure that everything is where it's supposed to be. You want to get the tip of your arrow in the area that you want to move. If you want the video, you have it on the video section. If you want the audio, bring it down to the audio, and then you're going to be sliding. If you need to take your hand on and off the shift key just to readjust, you can. Don't be afraid to move that up and down. So it's very important to kind of get comfortable with the timeline, because it can be a little bit intimidating. But once you understand it, it's not as bad. So those are the main things. And as I said, to play, you just hit the space bar, and you can hit the space bar again to stop it. You can start, stop, same thing, just like with the K key. If you've already started, now if you hit the K key and you're not doing anything, it's not going to move because it's a pause key. But if you've hit the J key, you can stop it. The L key to go that way, you can stop it. It can move very fast, so depending on how fast you want it to move, you can just hit it lightly and it moves very slowly. And hit the K key, just tap it slowly, just a light tap, and it'll move slowly. If you tap it a lot or hold it, it will move fast. So that's the JKL. Play is the keyboard space bar, and don't forget the plus and minus key to contract everything really fast. Also, another thing, if you want the playhead to go back to the very beginning, you can hold shift and you hit the keyboard space bar right here. Once again, if you're all the way over here. Another thing too, if you want to move this playhead manually, you can just go up to where the timeline is and click right there on where the numbers are, and it just moves right to that position. If you want to go back to the beginning, hold your shift key and tap. Now it's going to start moving, so you can just tap it again to stop it. And then you can just quickly bring it back, or you can hit shift, play, and stop, and it goes right back to 0. You can always hit it to make it stop. Another thing you can do too, that I sometimes will do, if you want to go back to 0 and you're all the way over here, if you don't feel like hitting the shift and the play, what you can do, I'm going to come over here, let me stop it, come back here. Sometimes I'll just come over here, tap on this and hit 00 and enter, and it comes right back, because this particular number follows the playhead. This number here tells you just how much clip you have on your timeline. Let me bring this back down. You can have a clip all the way out here. If you were to put something out here, this number is definitely going to change. Whether or not if this playhead is not there, this number will reflect just how far extended your timeline is, because you can have gaps in between. It will ignore the gaps and just go from 0 to whatever that number is. So that's what this particular number is telling you. This playhead, however, it's going to see this number here is now 4 minutes and 47 seconds, whereas this is 6 minutes and 20 seconds and some milliseconds. It goes by, this is minutes, this is hours, the first 2 minutes and seconds, and I guess these are like milliseconds. So if you have to cut down your clip, especially with these vertical videos, to 1 minute, this is the number you have to really watch, and then you'll watch this number to make sure you don't have anything extended out here, because even if this number says that you're below a minute, if this number says you're over a minute, you're going to be over a minute when you export it, because it's going to export everything that's out here. So always make sure you come down and look to make sure there's nothing hidden out here, because you're not going to be able to export a vertical video under a minute if you don't pay attention to these particular time devices here. You probably are aware this is your menu that will determine if things are linked, like this, for example, links these two clips. This clip is the camera, and it comes in with this audio. This is the bad audio that I've muted it because I don't want to use that audio. This is the audio from my Broadcaster Pro. This is my mixer that has the good audio. So I've soloed it. Here you have mute, solo, and if you want to record. Most people don't usually record here. If you're going to record, you'll probably do it directly in your camera, or it may be an Audition, but it is available for you to do recording as well. And here you have audio 1, audio 2, and you can add tracks as you like. All you have to do is come to the area where you want to add it. You see my arrow there very clearly in this little open space. You don't want to click on anything in particular, and you simply just right click, and and you can just either add a track, or you can go into add tracks. If you just add a track, it'll just add one quick track. There it is. Just added the space. I'm going to Command Z. You can also undo it. You can also click this, because maybe you want to add, you'll see the box will come up, which will go over, add in different tracks. So you can add 1 video or 2. You can increase this number to whatever number of tracks you want. Then you can actually, it's very informative here, because you can determine where you want that track added. If you want it after the last video or before, you want to split that up, you can do that. And then it gives you option 2 with the audio. You can put none if you don't want to add an audio track, or if you want an audio track to match that video track, you can simply do that, and you can see after audio 3, right? If you want it a different way, you can. And usually I just keep standard and stereo. If you want mono, you can do that as well. Here are some tools that you need to be aware of. Sometimes they're here. Sometimes they can move all over the place, just like these panels. So if you wanted to, you can click, you can undock it by just clicking undock panel, and then you can move it. If you're using it in this particular area, you can have it be horizontal, or if you want to, you can pull it this way and you can have it small just to keep it out of your way. You can just keep changing the size. You can make it as long as you want. But these are the tools for the timeline. And this is like the V key, which moves things around. I don't want to move the clip yet, but you grab the playhead and you can move that as well. Or you can highlight a clip. You just click, hold on to your mouse or your trackpad and just click it, and it will highlight it, and you can then move it. But just be careful that you're not separating audio and clips. Just be careful as you move things, because then things can go out of sync. So make sure that you're visualizing everything before you start moving clips around. And this one is the select clip. See how, let me do this. Let me come down. Let me click off. If you ever want to figure out how to get out of something, just click back on the main V key. Highlight this first. Once you can see, if you're not sure that you're seeing everything, remember the left upper quadrant, the tilde key, you can do that. And that shows you the entire scene so that you know if you have any clips there or not. And okay, so I usually come back out. So I will use this selector and come all the way here if I want to select everything. Notice it highlights everything, and then I will go to this move to, and if I want to manually move these over, I can move everything over if I want to. Just make sure you stay away from that line. See how I can move that? If I want to, I can move this playhead by using the arrow keys. You have these, if you go to the right side of your keyboard, you'll see arrows going up and down, right and left. If you want to, you can click on it and it will just keep moving, and then it goes all the way to the very end. Then if you want to bring everything over, you can do what I did manually and just drag it over and put it next to it. But another way, which is a lot easier, is you can imagine that you have these cords attached to all of these clips on the right side, and you're going to drag everything over by hitting your W key. Notice how everything just came over. I'm going to undo that, Command Z. Okay, so what you want to do is the Q and W, we use those a lot to move clips around. And it's really nice when you have all these clips. Just have to make sure that everything is selected. You want to double check with your tilde, open up to be sure that everything is selected. If you're going to move the entire clip over to zero things out, maybe you want to check to be sure that you have the right amount of time for your particular clip. The letter that is closest to the clips on this right side, because remember your playhead is now all the way on the left, right? You can see that all the way on the left. It's 0 or wherever you want it to be. You want to consider the W key is closest to that. My hands aren't going to do anything. I'm not touching any other key. I have one finger and I'm going to touch the W. And it brings everything over just with one finger. No modifier keys. That's already set pretty much inside of your system. That should be set. If not, you can go into your preferences and just be sure. But give it a try. If it's not, you can set it up inside your keyboard shortcuts. Okay, I'm going to come out of that. If I were here and I wanted to stop right there, see what I did? I just did the same thing wherever that playhead is, and all of these are also targeted. So it's important. You should have, this is empty, but I'll just turn it on. Notice that all of these track targets are on. If you don't have them on, sometimes things won't move properly. So always make sure that you keep all of these turned on. So, and make sure that nothing is locked, because if I were to lock something, it may not move. So when you're going to move the entire keyboard, make sure you unlock everything. And let me show you how to quickly be sure that everything is unlocked. You have to separate the video at the top from the audio at the bottom. You go here. You hold your shift key. You're going to take your left hand and you hold on to the shift key. Just hold it down, press it, and then go to your trackpad or your mouse and click on that little lock icon. You notice that everything turned blue, and all of these, everything in the video section at the top is now completely locked. And it's safe. You can't move it. It's not going to go anywhere. You're not going to accidentally move anything. So if you want to lock everything and make sure you're not moving things around or cutting things up, you can do that. To undo it, you take the same hand, the finger, you hold that shift key down again, and then you simply Click on that lock and you notice everything is now unlocked on that layer. If you want to go to notice V1, this is video 1, video 2, video 3, and those are the layers. They're stacked right on top of each other. Audio 1, audio 2, audio 3, they're stacked on each other as well. And this is my good audio. Most people will move their good audio into the audio 1 position, even though this is the clip. And you notice when I click on it, it does not highlight the good audio in the green because it's attached, it's linked to this. And the reason why it's linked to is because I have this link selection on. If I were to do that, come off, and I now click, notice that none of them are attached, are highlighted, right? So this has to be on. So just remember, it says link selection. It has to be on to keep your clip connected. And even though it's bad audio, you do not want to get rid of that bad audio because you need it to sync your lips with the good audio. And so never delete it. I actually never delete mine. Some people will delete it and link the good audio with the clip once they have synchronized it. But I actually don't even bother. And I actually export my clips. I simply, before I do the export, I will lock the bad audio and make sure it's muted. I actually keep it muted the whole time. I don't mix the two. So the only reason I don't keep it locked is because I'm moving and I'm cutting and I want to keep everything together. Because if you lock it and you're cutting everything else, your lips are not going to sync up. And if you should need it, again, to help you synchronize things, you're not going to have it. So it's there as a backup. So don't worry about it. It's there. Leave it alone. You can lock it if you're not cutting things up. But if you are cutting, then you should not lock it, but just mute it. That's the most important thing to do, is mute it. If you're sending something to Audition or Essential Sound, you don't really want that, so just keep it muted. Always go back and put back your link on. So if I click off into an empty space and I click it again, now you see it's selected. So it's very important to learn as a beginner how the timeline works and these clips to keep them synchronized. If you move the playhead over a clip, you notice that automatically it selects the clip that's at the top, and because this one attaches, it will select it. But everything else is unselected, right? If you want to select everything underneath that playhead, all you have to do is take one finger. You're not doing anything else. You simply hit the D key. All right? And notice that everything now under the playhead has been highlighted. Notice that this clip has not been highlighted because it is not underneath the playhead. Notice these are all together. It's not under. So if I wanted that highlighted, now it's the top clip, and so it gets highlighted. Once you have highlighted these clips, if you want to, you can do an I and O. Okay, so you can go in, you hit the I key, and if you want to, you can take this playhead and bring it to the end of your clip, and then you can hit O. So it's in and out. Okay, and at this point, you can do whatever you want to do with it, because now you have your I and your O. If you want to get rid of that section, if you want to delete it, you can hit your apostrophe. Now go to your keyboard and the line that has the A, S, D, F, G, H, F, K, and then you come to your colon, semicolon, and your quotation marks. Right underneath that should be your apostrophe. You don't have to put your cap locks on or anything. It should be very simple. You're going to use one finger, no modifiers. You're not touching anything else. You're going to get rid of this entire section. It could be in between. I could have other clips on the opposite side. All I have to do is hit it, and it is gone. Right? It completely takes it away and closes the gap. I'm going to undo that, Command Z. You can go up here to markers, and you can clear in and out, which is Option X. So look at your keyboard. If you have the Mac, it's going to be Option. And I think if you have the PC, it's Alt. I mostly use a Mac. I do have a PC as well, but I'm usually on the Mac. So it's Option X to get rid of the I and O. If you have the playhead over a segment, you hit D to highlight everything, and you can hit X, and that will put the I and O segment on that entire set of clips that you have highlighted. You see how, so you have an option, and Adobe's like that. And that's why a lot of people sometimes think it's hard, because there's so many different ways to do the same thing. It's good in a way because everybody can learn and do it their own way. So I'm showing you both ways, and you can decide how you want to do it. Okay, I'm going to in and out to exit out. All right, you think of it in and out to exit out, and then apostrophe away. Now, if you want to bring your playhead to the 0 position or to this position, you use your arrows, right, on that right-hand side at the bottom. Just hit it, and it will go to the next cut section. So notice here, it goes to the section that's been cut, wherever that is. You hit it again, it goes to the next cut section. You hit it again, and it goes to the next cut section. You hit it again, and it goes to 0. Now, if you want to bring all of these clips over to the 0, remember what we did? We used a key called the W key. Because remember, think of the W. You know what I do is I kind of turn the W on its side so that I pretend that there are hooks maybe in that W when it's on its side, and that it's grabbing on to all these clips on the right side, and it's dragging them over to itself. Dragging them over to itself. They're all over there, and then it's contracting on itself. Okay, so you hit the W key, and it drags everything over onto that 0 mark where it is. So think of it as being at that 0 mark. It doesn't always have to be at the 0 mark, but just so that you have that in mind. You hit the W key, and it stops there. Now, it stops there because this particular clip is closest to it, and there's a space between it and this one. So that's where it will stop. And if you move it over here and you hit it again, it moves there, but there's a space there. If this clip wasn't there, then it would bring all of this over instead. So whatever the clip that's closest to that line, that's as far as it's going to go. And remember, this is your track selection tool. You click it, and it's got the 2 arrows. You click it, and it clicks everything. You notice right there, it didn't click this one. Sometimes you have to back up a little bit and click it, and it will click it again, all right? If it didn't work. To remove it, you can just hit the V key, or you can hit V, and it will switch over to this arrow. If you only wanted to select maybe just this little clip, you can hold the Shift key. You're holding down the Shift key. It converts a double arrow to a single arrow. So now you bring it over to what you want, and then you select that, right? And then you're done. The shortcut for that is A. If you want to do that, you can do A, and it automatically appears. And then I can hold my Shift key to change it to single. I just want one thing selected. For cutting just one thing, if you have this clip and you want to cut it, you highlight it, and you see the razor blade. The shortcut, I think, is C for cutting, or you can just click on it if it's nearby. And wherever you want to cut, you can cut. Generally, though, let me just come out for a second. Probably you can bring it's best to drag over your playhead to where you want to do the cut, just so you have an idea. Make sure you're where you want to be. You're only going to be doing one clip with this basically, and you come over, you've got your hands up, you've brought it over, it can still sit there, you can take your hands off, you can hold your trackpad down with this hand. I'm holding the trackpad down, or your mouse, and then you just click, and there it is. Just with one hand you can do that. Hit the V key, and you notice I have 2 pieces of that now. And so I can delete a piece of it if I want to. I'm going to Command Z. And the nice thing about Adobe, see if I click it, it's all one piece again. You can always undo. Command Z is your friend, and you can hit it a few times, as many times as you want pretty much. And then you can go into the history and you can undo things if you get caught. Adobe is really good too about saving backup files. It's happened to me in the past, especially when I first started. I thought I had really, really messed up something, and I was able to go back in the autosave section where it has a list of all the things you've autosaved every so many minutes. And I was able to go back to where it was, to the point that I made the error and everything. So everything was perfect. This is your text key down here. If you want to write on something, you simply click on it and then you start typing. I'm not going to do that right now. These are your rectangle tools, ellipse, and polygon. You can go up here and draw out a rectangle, right? And if you want an ellipse, you can do an ellipse. There you are. And if you want a polygon, if you want to zoom in on something, you can use the zoom tool, and it brings up this, so you can click on it and it can kind of start extending your timeline. You can go back down with your minus sign. You can go back to the minus sign to undo that. The hand tool, you can use it to move stuff around as well if you want to move. See, I'm holding on to the trackpad, and with my right hand, I'm just barely moving the trackpad back and forth. I'm moving my hand in this manner on the trackpad, just like that, right? And you can see, but you have to hold down the trackpad or your mouse as you're moving it back and forth. Some of these other tools are a little bit more advanced for these slip tools and rolling edit tools. Once you get used to it, then you can start using those tools. But these are the basic ones that I think most people will use as a beginner. If you want to cut a clip all the way through all of them, and you don't really care whether or not these things are selected, this is your track targeting. You turn these areas blue, the V, 1, 2, and 3, and so forth. A1, 2, and 3. Shift, Command, K. It cuts everything. See, that's cut. And it wasn't even selected. Did you notice that? I cut it and it wasn't even selected. Undo that. Shift, Command, K. Shift, Command, K. Shift, Command, K. Shift, Command, K. All right, and that will cut through everything, all right, from top to bottom, and it doesn't matter whether or not you have track targeting, which is really just a row. I think of it as a row selector. They call it track targeting. I think it's just too complicated. All it is, these are rows. You have rows and you have columns, right? And it's really just a row selector. If you take it off, it will, and you try to work with it, you don't get the same response as if you have it selected. So it's something to just keep in mind, that there's some functions that will not work if you do not properly select your row. When you're working on the row, make sure you have it selected. Part of it is selected down here, so it kind of is moving as a group. But you should have it on. However, when you're cutting, and this is what I use, I really use the C cut tool to cut one thing. Most of the time I'm cutting, I'm going to cut my audio and my clips, because I want everything to stay synchronized. So I really just do one piece at a time unless I'm doing B-roll. Okay, I'm Dr. Lewis from the Memory Rainbow Academy. And it was a pleasure to go over this with you. Send me your messages if you have any questions. Let me know if the way I did things made sense to you. If you'd like me to go over anything in more details, I try to do it slowly because I know sometimes people who are really, really good at this can go very, very quickly and then you miss a lot. That's why I have my hands up. I just wanted you to be comfortable knowing which finger to use, how to use it, and I wanted to take it really slow because that's kind of like what I look for when I was learning, someone who would take the time to really kind of stop and this is what you're doing. This is what you see. So that's what I'm trying to do. So if you like this style, let me know. Let YouTube know that you like it because you have to like it and you have to subscribe. Otherwise, they'll just keep having you learn from people who are very, very fast. They're great at it. They're my mentors too, but sometimes it can be too fast. All right. Have a wonderful day. Have a blessed day. And thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching.